Bendy and the Dark Revival came out recently, so why not combine it with yet another popular series that we haven't beaten to the ground yet? That's what we're exploring today. So let's do it right now. Let's go. In at 10, Twisted Alice. Twisted Alice is the monster form of Susie Campbell, one of the Alice Angel characters in the cycle and the secondary antagonist of the Bendy series, appearing as the main antagonist of chapter 3 and 4 of the first game, as well as another level antagonist in Boris and the Dark Survival. She also returns in Bendy and the Dark Revival. Twisted Alice appears to be a young and kind of a humanoid replica of Alice Angel with straight and medium black hair, thin eyebrows, and black lipstick. She wears a semi-broken halo that is melted onto the left side of her head, and also has short horns, because apparently that's also what angels have. The left side of her face also is melted like her halo, except this time it looks like melted wax, with half of her teeth being exposed, and then an empty left eye socket with a few ink-like tears, although I think we can all tell that it's not ink. On her neck there also appears to be a slit oozing what again looks like ink, but let's be honest, it's not. And I mean, like, this is just a fairly easy pick for what would be in the Backrooms, okay? Like, dude, this is just a monster. This is what she actually is. And so, yeah. And since that's kind of the whole point, her being an ink monster that would be discarded, that's why she's here. But since, again, that's her whole theme, that's why she's at 10, alright? But it's still a pretty solid choice. It's a pretty solid start. In at 9, Sammy Laurence. Sammy Laurence was an award-winning musician and composer and the director of the music department at Joey Drew Studios, known for writing the music for Bendy cartoons in the studio's heyday. Around 1946, as revealed by Dreams Come to Life, the novel, he stole a large number of ink bottles that were used for the ink machine. He then proceeded to drink them day by day as some kind of like weird Crowley human blood addiction, and then ultimately transformed into a mind-corrupted creature of ink. He later appears in Bendy and the Ink Machine as one of the major antagonists pursuing Henry during the game, and is just an all-around weird dude, okay? Like, the ink form of Sammy is like the result of ink corruption mixed with insanity after he became addicted to drinking ink machine ink, but he also never went through the actual ink machine. So thanks to this, he became insane and just put on a Bendy mask, then tried to become Bendy, and then also started sacrificing other former employees, okay? This literally sounds like an origin story that will get sued, because it's like scary familiar to me. I don't know why, okay? Or maybe that's just the voices in my head. But no matter what, this dude would be in the Backrooms. You can't tell me. He's drinking ink! Come on! In at 8, Searchers. The Searchers are the cycle's ink-comprised creatures and basically the primary grunt enemies that appear in the Bendy series. They're the ink blobs that pop up from the ground whenever you need a slew of enemies to fight off. And aside from the main version, there are actually several types of unique Searchers. There's minor Searchers, the swollen Searchers, which themselves have a variant. There's the mini-bosses, there's a boss type, and then there's the variant with Sammy's mask. The Searchers are essentially human-based creatures entirely made out of ink that have no souls, and are roughly 2/3 as tall as Henry, or at least that's how I felt how tall they were in the games. They have very flexible bodies, elongated arms, the lower part of their bodies also seems to like melt into puddles of ink, and then they're also like stuck within them. They have to crawl to move, and they leave the ink trails behind. Then they have like the most horrific mouths I think I've ever seen on a creature that is just pure ink, okay? They have like a ghoulish human face that has like a giant like SCP-193 mouth, okay? I don't get it. There's like 2 indentations where there should be eyes. They have like movable eyebrows. They seem to be human, but their legs are stuck in the ink, which isn't really helping their attitude. But yeah, they would also show up in the Backrooms. This is like Backrooms 101 in terms of monster. Yeah. And it's 7, Butcher Gang. The Butcher Gang is a group of horribly disfigured creatures based on Joey Drew Studios cartoon characters, mainly the original Butcher Gang from the Bendy cartoons. I feel like that's pretty obvious. Their bodies show horrific mutations with random objects in place of missing body parts. Various other elements move to the wrong place. One has like a mouth on the top of their head. And it's basically to the point that they look unrecognizable to their original selves. Their demeanor resembles the original Butcher Gangs, but you know, they have slightly low intelligence. No, they're dumb, okay? They can't speak properly. They talk in extreme gibberish, more than me, and they can rarely speak clear words, although I relate to that one. But still, it's absolutely something that I would expect to be in the Backrooms, especially given how disfigured they are. I mean, like, the Backrooms is supposed to be a developer area with discarded and unused files and assets, right? So why wouldn't the horribly mutated and messed up Butcher Gang be here in this context, okay? Piper, Fisher, Stryker, they're basically the Hex Girls of the Backrooms in my eyes. Like, they'd be singing while also slowly trying to kill me, and I mostly said Hex Girls because I don't want to summon a sentient code serial killer, which if I said the other thing, definitely would. And at 6, Projectionist. The Projectionist is a cyborg-like ink creature that is just one of the many inhabitants of the cycle, and just an inky reincarnation of Joey Drew Studios' lead projectionist Norman Polk. He's like a 3rd level antagonist in Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 of Bendy and the Ink Machine, and a secondary antagonist in Boris and the Dark Survival. He also returns as a minor supporting character in Dark Revival, but the thing is, he's basically like just a tall humanoid creature that is mostly completely covered in ink, and most notably has a projector on his head. Yeah. Several long black hanging wires, which are possibly meant to be film roll, are attached to like the back of his head and then like attached to his back through that. There's a long wire attaching to his right ankle. I don't know why his whole body needs to be hooked up to it, but you know, you do you, bro. I ain't judging. He has a film reel stuck on his left shoulder. His head is a freaking projector, and like, come on. Okay, look at the walking projector ink monster infused with a human soul and tell me that that's not gonna make sense to me in the Backrooms. Exactly. These things were almost designed to fit in here, okay? Save for like the cartoon look, which for the purposes of this list and the entirety of this list really, we're dismissing that look, since in the Backrooms I feel like they'd be realistic. And also, you've made it halfway through if you're still here, alright? So if you're here, subscribe. You kind of obviously want to. I can tell. Halfway through into number 5, Ink Machine. While technically not a character, the Ink Machine is kind of in a way required in the Backrooms in order for all of the rest of this list to make sense. The massive ink-powered machine was installed by Joey Drew for his studio, and the Ghent company was the one who was trying to help him do it, and by help him do it, I mean help him create living entities for an animation company. Yeah. Wally Frank was the only person allowed to actually attend to the ink machine and kind of fix it up, and it was also the main plot device that triggered literally everything in this series because of the ink that flows through it. It becomes apparent that the ink machine functions similar to a 3D printer in a sense. It turns 2D sketches into realistic physical models, but also, unlike a 3D printer, infuses them with humans. Later on, the ink machine becomes enchanted by mysterious circumstances that now it creates living cartoon characters out of souls, which is a very Disney move, as I've explained in the past. However, as I've said, we kind of need this for every other number on this list to make sense. And at 4, Wilson. Wilson Ark is the main antagonist of Bendy and the Dark Revival. He's the son of Nathan Ark, the founder of Arkgate Films, or Archgate Films depending on how you want to say it, and an old friend of Joey Drew. Wilson is a very deceitful person, shown by his ability to manipulate Audrey into doing multiple things. He portrays himself as weak, fragile, and an old man, but he is very careful with the words that he chooses, making him exceptional at manipulation, kind of like my ex. And I mean the old man part. Behind this disguise of his though, he is a very narcissistic and self-centered person, referring to himself as the cycle's savior and basically demanding worship. But honestly, this man would be the one controlling the Backrooms, okay? Think like the Game Master from Sword Art Online, or the Game Masters from the Hunger Games that are like controlling the dome, or whatever it is. That's basically who this guy would be for the Backrooms. The guy controlling things that just wants to make your life a living hell for the fun of it. That's what he would do, and that's why he's here. Getting close to the end of number 3, Henry. Henry Stein is a former animator and the co-founder of Joey Drew Studios, working with his partner Joey Drew. He's responsible for the creation of various cartoon characters, including Bendy, Boris, and Alice Angel, and given his appearance in Bendy and the Dark Revival, I feel like him showing up in the Backrooms isn't too out of the question. Especially since, in my head at least, the Cycle is like the Backrooms equivalent for the Bendy series. So Henry being there in Dark Revival kind of solidifies that idea in my brain. Now I'm not quite sure how accurate that is, since I haven't gotten that far into the game yet, but I feel like this is a pretty accurate analogy, but I'm sure you'll correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And you know what? If I'm wrong, the Backrooms always needs a protagonist, right? Yeah, damn right, so shove it, haters. He's on this list, deal with it. But ultimately, in at number 2, Ink Demon. Ink Bendy, also known as the Ink Demon, is the main antagonist of the Bendy franchise. He is a failed attempt at creating the Joey Drew Studios' popular mascot Bendy in real life using the ink machine, and is just all around a defect among several other cartoon physical incarnations, because this one is lacking a soul. Ink Bendy is a tall, malformed figure with skin made of black ink. Skin. He resembles Tar. Think the Tar Pit monster from Scooby-Doo, and that's this guy. His head highly resembles that of the original Bendy, but possessed, and like basically my sleep paralysis demon. His horns are curved, and you know, they're like demon horns, and he's able to use them to kind of like simulate animal ears, but also, like, come on guys, okay? You can't look at a literal ink demon and tell me that it wouldn't appear in the Backrooms, a place where the creature typically illustrated as the one using it as its hunting ground, okay? That entity thing could also be seen as a creature made of ink, okay? Actually, how do you look at Bendy and just say that he wouldn't? Go ahead, tell this terrifying creature to his face that he can't be in the Backrooms because he isn't scary enough, or whatever angry comment you've already left on this video, okay? Go ahead. He's already like the color of the wallpaper when you don't have the ink, okay? So we might as well let him chill there. And finally, in number 1, Beast Bendy. Oh, there you go. You did it. You told him it and you made him mad. There you go. Beast Bendy is an alternate monstrous form of Ink Bendy and the final boss of Bendy and the Ink Machine. He later comes back in Bendy and the Dark Revival. This powerful form of Ink Bendy is far more intimidating, larger, and is almost entirely ink, and just Jesus Christ. Compared to his original form, the shape of this monstrosity is almost symmetrical in a sense. While still having absent eyes, his enlarged head is like very cartoonish. He has a wide mouth, he has rows of sharp teeth, and it just, I don't know, he's like showing the gums, okay? He's really into it. Probably too into it. The bow tie and the left glove on his hand are also just gone now somehow, and just, he's overall more ferocious and animal-like in his behavior. It's terrifying, okay? He moves like on his knuckles and fights like a goddamn gorilla. And his legs are like shrinking. Like, I don't get it, okay? He's going to haunt my nightmares, but also the Backrooms, and you can't say anything about it because I've already made the list, alright? He's the most video game equivalent version of a Backrooms entity I have ever seen, okay? Aside from, like, glitches in general, okay? So yeah, definitely gonna top the list. And if you're wondering what it would be like to have Bendy be real, be sure you check out the What If Bendy and the Ink Machine Was Real video popping up on your screen now. Thanks for watching.